bring on board Mr. Anil Singhvi, Executive Chairman, Sri Digvijay Cement. But more importantly, we today have him in the capacity of being a veteran in the industry who has been, associated with a lot of marquee names, has been in the industry for over 20 years. And he's best placed to tell us what can happen with this entire news buzz around Holcim exiting India and the stake of ACC and Ambuja being on the block. Mr. Singhvi, it's a pleasure having you on ET Now. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mr. Singhvi, let me begin by asking you about the ET Now exclusive, news break that we had, that Arcelor Mittal is now joining the fray to buy the stake of Holcim in ACC and Ambuja. How likely do you think is that to happen? Because earlier, I think your expectation was that it will most likely be a domestic player which will pick up the stake.
Well, I also read in the newspaper with a lot of interest. I, for one, do not think and believe that ArcelorMittal will be getting into cement because they are not a cement player locally or globally. And cement is a very domestic industry. ArcelorMittal's own understanding of the local market dynamics also is limited because their steel presence is just about 1.5 to 2 years back. So I have my doubt because it's a very large transaction. So it's not that it's available cheap or they want to get into cement globally. So India could be a good start for them. So when I look at all other metrics of this, it doesn't give me any sense that they will be writing a $10 billion plus check to get into an industry which they don't understand. Cement is not a commodity. Cement is more of a localized play, unlike steel. So there's no common interest which can serve that you are in steel as well as in cement. I don't see. In fact, if you remember, long time back, Tata Steel was also into cement and they had to then sail off and get out of it. So experience has it that steel and cement are two completely chalk and cheese.
No, point taken that steel and cement don't go hand in hand, but could it be an interesting opportunity for a player who's not present in the sector at all to directly get a ready-made mix of 66 million ton capacity?
Well, that could be many sectors. Could they get into an FMCG if suppose there was an FMCG company available on that? I mean, I can't comment on that, but I'm looking at a synergy which I don't see any synergy on that. That way, India can give you a power sector also. There could be many power plants which are available and they're available much cheaper than cement. But I don't think ArcelorMittal will be just getting into that. Plus, steel cycle still, is also correcting. So it's not a euphoric time what we saw in last 12 months or so. Globally also, there is a slowing down. So there are attended issues for such a large transaction, for not being in that sector, for somebody to do it. So I will be very surprised, let me put it this way, if ArcelorMittal also, and it's not available cheap. What you're saying is maybe a large capacity, but it's not coming cheap.
Right. Mr. Singhvi, good afternoon. This is Cheryl also joining in the conversation. Let's talk about the valuations. How do you think that the valuations will play out? Will it be at a higher valuation than what these other cement players are actually trading at? Also, do you think that a non-cement player might actually pay even more for these entities?
Well, it all depends. I mean, I always believe that beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. So it will be seen from the point of view of who wants it, what kind of growth plans you have. It's not just the entry, it's a expansion of that, because as you remember, Holcim, unfortunately, as I look back from my own days with Ambuja of 25 years, Holcim really left the space open for other players to expand capacity and increase market shares. So I was very disappointed by Holcim's performance for last 17 years since they've been in India. So I think it will depend upon who the new buyer is going to be, what kind of footprints they want to have, what kind of market share they want to gain from where they are today. So it's a good entry point, but that's not enough. I think somebody has to really build on, because these are two very strong brands, as you would know, Ambuja and ACC. So whosoever comes in will have to really then show capacity expansion for next 5-10 years. So I want to see somebody who's writing a check of $10 billion now and committing for at least the next 5-10 years, another $10 billion to reach to a capacity of 100 million.
Mr. Singhvi, you have the bird's eye view of the entire sector. You have been on the other side with Ambuja as well, and you know the internals, how that works out. Which of the current industry players do you think are best suited for this amalgamation? Can it be the likes of JSW Group, the Ultratech Group, or a lot of names are being thrown around? Which do you think is most likely to see the most amount of synergies from this kind of merger?
Okay, let's talk about the 3 or 4 names which are doing rounds in media, because there are two things very clearly. A is that it's a very large transaction, perhaps one of the largest transactions we would have seen, both in terms of what Holcim will get and the open offer one has to make in India on that. B, importantly enough, cement is really not going through right now the best of the times. Okay, so whatever historical numbers what you have seen, perhaps 23, 24 will put those numbers into quite a question mark on that. And importantly enough, again, on this, that any new player will take time, even if it is an existing player. When they get into a company, it takes time to look at internally, externally, all of that. So when I look at the valuations matrix, it doesn't give me confidence that there will be many people, many suitors who are going to go and grab this asset as if there's no tomorrow. I mean, in cement, we keep getting opportunities. You have seen in cement industry in India last 15, 20 years, there's one of the very few industries locally and globally where you have so many opportunities. People have really expanded capacities, be it Sri Cement, be it Dalmia, Ultratech, all of that. So cement still has a lot of room for consolidation. So it's not the last word which is spoken on cement. So I doubt, I mean, you can pay some extra money for getting into it if you're not there, which could be true for somebody like Adani. But ArcelorMittal, I will be very surprised, actually shocked that if they really wrote a check which is even more competitive pricing than what Adani's and JSW can put on that. I saw somewhere today's papers talked about Ultratech. I doubt whether Ultratech will be able to get the clearances from CCI, however regulatory framework these people may have put or lawyers may have given. Because CCI will be concerned with that there have already been accusations flying off, and there were cases against Ultratech also in CCI of price fixing. So with that situation, when they argued the matter that they are only just about 25-30% of the market share, and that is how still the final word has not been heard on this, whether CCI's imposition of fine was right or not right. But definitely when they move to almost 50% of the total capacity in India, I don't think CCI will be very comfortable with that. And selling of some assets are 10-15 million tons and all that, Ambuja ACC kind of a thing will not work, because you're paying a huge price first for entry, and then you sell off the assets at a lower price. I think it's going to be a very expensive deal. And these assets sale also in India cannot be done piece by piece with the mining issues and other related issues on that. So I doubt whether Ultratech will be really, and again, why should Holcim, if they have decided to get out of it, why should they hold on till such time those asset sale and all that? They saw it in case of Lafarge. It took an unduly long time by the time they could get it, by the time the money could be realized. I don't think Holcim will be really interested. They want to do it today because for them, carbon emission is a problem. For them, getting cash flow today is more important than anything else. So anyone who is without having any regulatory issues will be the winner in this case. So I would rule out ArcelorMittal and Ultratech. I think finally it will be perhaps Adani and JSW. Let the best man win. I'm not here to hazard any guess on that.
Well, you have preempted my next question. I was going to put you on the spot to ask if out of the entire list of people who are there in the fray, right from JSW to Adani to Ultratech, ArcelorMittal, etc., who is the likely winner? But you've already answered that. Perhaps it's going to be Adani or JSW in your view. But in terms of the overall timing, when do you expect the deal will fructify by, if you have some insights around that? And also in terms of the pricing, the word doing around is between 70 to 80,000 crore rupees. Could this be a case of buyer's remorse in any case if the valuation exceeds the level of, let's say, 75, 80,000?
Well, put it this way, the today market cap of Ambuja is about 70,000 crores. Obviously, we are buying 63% from Holcim and another 26-27% open offer. This is a big check for anyone to write. I'm not hazarding a guess what pricing it could be. As it is, Ambuja share price has run up from about 270, 280 to 380. They've corrected again. So I think the prices will be more or less at the market related pricing of that. So my take is that there will be very few. And again, let me tell you also one more thing, that no one has that kind of equity. So you are really working with a couple of private equity guys, couple of banks and all that. And this is expensive funding. There's not actually funding on that, particular private equity. They're coming, they'll be looking at IRR of 20%. How do you make 20% IRR on the money which you are really writing a check today? So it's going to be a very mature play, very, very, you have to look for another expansion for next 5 or 10 years. to really average out your cost of entry today. So this is a big haul. This is a big a situation which will pan out. It will change the dynamics of the industry for a very, very long time to come, because the 65 million will definitely reach to 100 million plus. So it will be Ultratech and whosoever is the winner in this game will be the two large players in industry. Rest all will get also consolidated over a period of time. So I think we are likely to see a lot of action in cement industry in next couple of quarters. You asked me one question, that how soon this deal can be done. You should be aware of it, that these deals can't be done overnight on that. It takes time. Holcim is also not a entrepreneur-driven company. It has its own board. It has its own complexities. It will take time. And if there are 3 or 4 parties who are sounding at least to them, why should Holcim be in a hurry to conclude a deal in the next 10, 15, 20 days' time? So I think when I look at the global media, when I look at the Swiss media, look at the Financial Times and others, they don't seem to be talking about it. It can be done next a week or so. But I think in India, the pink papers and the big media channels seem to be suggesting is round the corner. I don't think so. It's going to happen in any time soon. It's going to take time. It's a complex deal. It's going to have its own nuances. Financing also is going to be very, very tight situation for any buyer because it's a large check.
Absolutely, Mr. Singhvi. Like you said, it's a very big deal, has its own nuances, will take time definitely to fructify. But you said it's an interesting time for the cement industry as a whole. You see some more consolidation. What does this big, a large deal mean for the smaller players in the cement industry?
Well, we haven't seen very large transactions in cement for last 3-4 years. I think JP was the largest piece of asset which got done in, I think, 2015 or 16. My memory was good. So we will definitely see one more round of consolidation. Industry last 3 years made a lot of money. I think it's going through again tough times. There will be players who are leveraged or leveraged beyond their capacities. They'll get sold out. There are a lot of smaller players. Ultratech will also look for some consolidation within the group. I'm loosely defining the group as a lot of other companies which are there in that. So I think this one transaction, whosoever is the winner, will trigger a lot of other transactions in next at least a year or two, which will be good for industry because after riding through the difficult time of 23-24 on account of fuel prices, we're going to see again demand opening up, not much of new capacity being created because again consolidation requires a lot of cash, which will be spent by the large players. So I think my sense is we will see a much more consolidated industry in 24-25 and much better days for cement industry than 23-24.
Okay, so on that optimistic note, Mr. Singhvi, we'll let you go, but we'll have your, intellect with us when this deal does get announced. We'll need your wisdom to pass through all the deals because as you pointed out, it is going to be a very complicated one. But for now, we'll let you go. Thank you so much for making time for ET Now today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.